Welcome to the Agency Navigators podcast in a special Experience Files recording. I'm Ro.
I'm Duff.
And truly one of our dearest friends, one of our longest term agency partners, and someone who means the world to us, Christopher Cook, Alliance Insurance Services.
Thanks for having me, guys. Honored to be here.
Very honored to have you. A lot of you may hear me reference, if you're on a call with us, I'll talk about Christopher and all the great work we've done together. He is actually what I consider my home agency. I even have my own email for Alliance, so that's a point of pride for me. We just have done so much together for so many years on this shared journey.
And one of the things that stands out is that we've mentioned so many times, Christopher's name allows us to share. He willingly shares his story, shares his experiences, what's worked, what hasn't worked as well, so that all our agencies don't have to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
We're trying to do this thing together, right? I tell my kids often the biggest mistake young people make is they don't listen to old people. And all I really mean by that is just learn from other people's experiences, learning things the hard way. You know, I understand that's part of the human condition, but I don't like to do it that way. I like to learn from others and hope if I can share something with somebody else, that's what we prefer to do.
Amazing. And there's your first golden nugget, everyone. Learn from others. And that is truly how we've come together. I'm going to tell the story, Christopher. God help us both. We can get through this. This is January 2019. Don and I had launched the year before the AgencyCFO program. We were on a podcast and the phone rang, and there was this wonderful Southern voice. I picked up the phone, and he's like, you don't know, I need a strategic plan. I heard you on this podcast. I got derailed. My daddy died in November. And I was like, really? I said, you may not believe me. And I remember this to the minute. I said, you may not believe me, but my daddy died in October. And the two of us, and we share a birthday.
That's right.
So the two of us had this connection. And obviously with Don, we're like brothers and sisters here. Well, you guys. So it is something that we have used those shared experiences and that learning from the first phone call we ever had together. And it really is what it is shared experiences and learning. And the idea is the financial and organizational, operational growth excellence. You want the whole package. You want to know Christopher Cook at Alliance Insurance Services, because he is very humble, but we know he's something special.
I mean, the range of issues and ideas that we've discussed over the years, it touched upon, what haven't we talked about?
Well, that's what's made the friendship fun, right? Like I think both organizations have a desire to get a little bit better every day. And so our conversations build upon one another. Don, I called you last week just to talk about something you presented 4 years ago. And I remember the presentation, but it wasn't as applicable in the moment for me. Don't know why, but now it clicks. And you laid that foundational work years ago. And I think most of our conversations have been that way. And it's helped us a lot.
It's helped us too. And I remember the early days, the first, I would say 6 months of working together, at least 6 months, if not a year. We'd be on our calls because, Christopher was in the full program. We got to meet you in person early on, which was a huge benefit.
That was San Diego, right?
No, New Orleans, believe it or not.
New Orleans was first. That's right.
New Orleans was first, but then we saw you in San Diego. And then we came down. But anyways, I remember because I would be listening to these two go back and forth on the financial. They're both going to laugh. I'm calling them both out. And Christopher would be like, I really respect you, Don, but I don't believe you, or I don't agree with this number. And you were like, no, trust me, I got this.
Yeah, and we've had some great conversations, and that's been typical of how we work together, not only with you, Christopher, but our partner agencies. Sometimes we're not going to agree on everything, and yet that builds a better relationship.
Absolutely.
For sure.
And the other part of it is we've turned to you as well. You've helped us grow as business owners
Absolutely.
Well, it's always been a conversation, right? I care about you all deeply, and it shows in your work with us that you care about our team and me. No secrets. We're really good friends, but we care about each other. We want to see what's best for one another, and we don't get offended when the other person says, you need to look at this idea.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and there have been times you've set me straight on some of our phone calls, but I love that. No, but I absolutely love that. So that's one of my takeaways from this whole idea of excellence is, as you said, you need to listen to other people. I'm going to add that layer of being open to their expertise.
Yeah, and I would add to that candor. There's 100% candor. What makes a great relationship, where the value creation happens, is because when you're 100% candid, you don't have to sugarcoat anything. It is what it is.
Yeah, as we've worked together, I've always been very, very open with you guys, and I'm open with any agency owner out there, and to a large degree, any agent out there. I don't have any secrets. I don't know why you would not share the nuggets God's given you, but being able to share that with you all and being totally open and transparent with you, I think has helped me as much as it's helped y'all, because you always knew where I was coming from. You've always been able to kind of refocus me or recenter me on, well, hold on, we said this was the goal this year, or, I have a tendency to get off track a little bit, have a squirrel moment from time to time. And because we've always been transparent, y'all have helped me to kind of stay the course, if you will.
And on the flip side, again, that two-way street, it's no secret I jumped in and did some special work for Christopher and the team at AIS this year and actually refined their whole recruiting process. And I am not an HR person. I don't like it. I don't want to do it. But this was something different. And that's when I got my email address with Alliance and became official. And at one point I was jumping in really quickly because obviously entrepreneurial, quick start, just jump in. And I got a text from him and said, okay, quick start. Let's see what the team can do. And it was so perfect. It was so perfect because it highlights our strengths together, but also redirects us when we just said, okay, we got this. You did good. We're on our way.
Roa, you did help us build out a very good process there. And I think in times of, real need, we will deploy that again. But we're deploying it every day currently as we continue to try to grow our team. Maybe not as urgent, right? We had a real shortage and we needed to get some people on board very quickly. And thank goodness you stepped in and helped us be another set of hands to carry that while we got everybody onboarded. But I have a conversation with a dear friend of mine every Monday morning. And he's in that spot. And so this afternoon, he and I are going to talk about, hey, look, this is what we did. Use it, don't use it, I don't care. But I was there just a few months ago. I think in a recent conversation, you talked about how desperate, for lack of a better term, or how much despair I was in about this hiring needs and the frustration of losing a team member. I've got all the energy in the world today. It's October 27th, I think, and I'm ready to grow the business big time, but I wasn't in that spot. And you stepping in and helping us with the recruiting helped me to get mentally there.
And that's a good pro tip right there, Christopher. That's expertise. We all, as business owners, find ourselves in a spot of despair at one time or another. Don and I have lost candidates. We've, of course, business ebbs and flows. There have been a few hits with clients. You get those moments of despair, but we'll get on a call with you and you lift us up.
And I'm going to tell you that they're essentially universal. Our experiences.
Oh, absolutely.
Is that when we join any call, we have our partner calls, we never know. It might be that agency owner's moment of despair. Mm-hmm. And we adjust. You have to adjust and also know that it's temporary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the sun's gonna come up tomorrow morning, whether we think it is or not.
Right. Yeah, it may not feel like it in the moment.
It always does.
But it always does. And that is the other part of this is if you're out there, if you're owning a business, if you're managing or an executive officer at an agency, and you have that moment of despair, find someone else outside of your business, but who's close enough to help balance. Yeah. And I think that's maybe one of the biggest successes the three of us have had together is the balance we bring.
I would agree.
Yeah. We have the numbers, the human, and the sales guy, the guru.
This is true. We do.
It really is. So, all right, we're building this concept of excellence, and it's actually very human, which I'll let you speak to that for a minute.
Yeah, the only thing that is surprising, now we've been agency CFO for eight years.
Yeah.
The only big surprise out of the whole business venture, launching Agency CFO, is how human the relationships become. I'm a CFO. I love to talk about numbers, but there's so much that goes into ultimately everything that goes on at the agency ultimately funnels down to the bottom line on your income statement. So we talk about, that's why we're very holistic, because there's so many things, even in personal lives, that ultimately will impact results.
Absolutely. What are your thoughts, Christopher?
It's a people business, right? Yes. There's underwriting, there's claims, there's certainly the numbers. And Don and I really like to get into the numbers and understand where we're going and how we get there. And numbers tell a very true story to me. But none of this happens without people. Every challenge we have is because of people, whether they are clients, team members, vendors, whatever. And life is throwing curveballs at human beings every single day. So the relationships that we work to build are what's going to sustain our agencies long term. And I wished it was just numbers. Don and I could
Boy, I've been on those calls.
It would be great. But, this is a people business. It's a relationship business. One of my mentors, and if Alliance Insurance had a wall of fame, this gentleman would be on it. Larry Denton told me when I got started, Christopher, this will always be a relationship business. It's always been a relationship business. And there's no truer words have ever been spoken. And so to Don's point, it's a human. This is still about humans.
All right. So let's talk humans. That's a perfect segue for me, Christopher.
All right.
The next layer, my next pro tip in all of this is generosity. And where I'm taking this, I have a story to tell about this.
All right.
It's about being generous, not only with community and financial donations and involvement. We all do that as business owners, right? Mm-hmm. That's something we do. What I see in Alliance Insurance Services, first and foremost, is actually generosity in your team and the expertise they build. So one of the things, if you ever meet me in person, I'll also refer to Brian. Brian is Christopher's COO, and we got to promote Brian as COO when we all first met together we were in Walnut Cove.
We were in a little bitty place called Walnut Cove, North Carolina, population 2,281.
We were doing your first strategic plan and talking about the right person, right seat, all of the typical things. And Brian was a part of the meetings. 7 years in, not every week, but at least 2 or 3 weeks out of the month, I have an hour-long phone call with Brian because of Christopher's generosity that he wanted Brian to grow, and it allows him to mentor with me. Any topic is on the table. We never not talk about whatever the agency needs, what Brian needs personally. We push each other. Again, another trusted relationship. But it's your generosity in allowing team members to get their certifications, get their CICs, have growth opportunities. One of our favorite moments, I think, this year was promoting into your personal line.
Yeah, we promoted Heather this year.
We did. That was a fabulous moment. She's been on the team for a couple of years and really proved herself. What do you think about generosity? Because I've got another half of generosity, internal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's so much of it, both internal, but also I think, oftentimes what everybody else sees is the external.
Right. Go ahead, speak to that, and then I'll add to it.
Well, I appreciate you bringing it up. I'm struggling, as I told you I would, to fight back tears through a lot of this conversation. But for this business to succeed, and I hope your listeners will think about this for themselves, for this business to succeed, our team members have to succeed. I want nothing more than for our folks to grow in their careers. And so I want to be the catalyst that pushes them forward, not the guy that holds them back. And giving people opportunities to grow in their careers, to grow in the paths they want to grow, right? Some of them may choose to grow in a direction different than what I had designed for them in my mind. Well, you mentioned Heather Johnson, so I'll pick on her. I want Heather to be a salesperson. She's a great salesperson. She wants to lead the personal lines team, and she's doing a very good job leading the personal lines team. I want to give my team members that flexibility. They need to be able to grow their careers the way they want to grow them, and I'm going to try to help them do that, but I don't want to hold them back ever. And so if that's called generosity, I appreciate that you would bring that up. I hope it's just being a good business person.
It is, but being a good business person is the generosity of spirit. So here's the second half of the generosity, and this is another favorite Christopher story, because we've been together a long time, and you are the biggest little brother anyone could ever have. I always tell you that. Christopher came on early 2019. He's on board with AgencyCFO. If you love someone, you share it. If you need them to be better, you help them to be better. The generosity of Christopher in the referral tree. And I love going down this path, Christopher, because we started with you. You brought us to Virginia and Ohio, so I won't name names. Ohio brought us to Georgia. Georgia has spread us all over the country, and yet you're still referring us to this day. You know, we have 2 states more just this week because of your generosity of just sharing. You know,
another good old statement: what's good for one's good for all, and what's good for all is good for one.
Yeah.
Some of those people you mentioned are amazing humans. They've got great souls, and I just feel like it's obvious that when we're succeeding together and helping push each other, we're all going to achieve more together than we would ever achieve in silos. And I do take pride in referring folks good business partners. One of the best required reading at Alliance Insurance is The Go-Giver, and everybody that joins this team reads that book. And you know, oftentimes they're encouraged to read it twice. Right? It's a good book. It's a good story. It's a good way to live in life. We don't have to be looking out for number one, which I understand all of us main interest is self-interest. That's just the truth. But having a desire to help others and making connections, just being Pindar, can really help advance things.
And that's so true. And for the record, he gave us a copy. We read it as well. So now I want to reread it. The idea of AgencyCFO is very careful about, if we have an agency partner in Pilot Mountain, North Carolina, Mount Airy, Winston-Salem, your whole area, if anyone else from within 1 to 2 hours of you asks to be a part of our program, we come to you and say, hey, look, we've got this opportunity. You've never turned it down. We've had others turn it down. But
well, good competition only makes you better. And I can tell you, if you were helping one of my neighbors, they would just be a better competitor, which would challenge me and push me to be even better. So
generosity.
That's just the way I look at it.
Interesting perspective.
And that's when I'm saying generosity, and believe me, Christopher donates. He does so much for his local community, just as most of us as really good small business owners do. He takes that generosity to a whole new level of generosity in building a team, generosity of building relationships, and just that's something rare.
Absolutely.
All right, so now
Christopher, we have some opportunity here for a few minutes. You love to share. You made that point. You've been very gracious. What about sharing some more things here from our experience? We were going on 7 years.
Yep. So go for it. Where do you want to go for?
I mean, I think I've got several things I could highlight, but I'll start with just a few. The tools that AgencyCFO has built for our organization, and I mentioned earlier, maybe I wasn't astute enough to implement them all at the moment, but they're tools, they're great, and we've continued to interact in such a manner. Retention is not great at Alliance Insurance. We got a lot of strengths. Retention has never been one of them. But when we go back 7 years, Don, I thought you were going to just throw the whole set of books out the window. We were losing so much. But you've built tools for us to explain retention, explain the impact of retention, explain the long-term impact of retention. What does changing it by a point do for your agency in 5 years, 8 years? So we've been working on that since we've known y'all. And our retention has improved over time. To an individual level, right? I called you an excitement on Friday. To an individual level, it has been super impressive for some of our team members. I'm talking about a guy taking his retention from 65% to 86%, a lady taking her retention from 70% to 86%, a gentleman taking his retention from, hell, I don't even know how we track this, to 84%. So we've got 6 producers who have over 90% retention ratio. I think they're all over 93, actually. Those are individual efforts that affect the whole team and the whole group, right? But to some of y'all's points earlier, y'all aren't just talking to me. You guys help Brian, and you help Cecilia, and you help the producers. We've ebbed and flowed and evolved that as we've worked together. But the tools that AgencyCFO has provided to me and to our team members, they're being used and they're making a difference. My dad would say you can't beat a man with the right tools. And you guys have given us the right tools.
Well, thank you. And I think there's a deeper nugget within that, is that no matter if you're an agency owner listening to this and your retention, whether it's 80, 85, 90, whatever it is, it's not a blanket statement. Mm-hmm. You have producers. Some of your producers are going to have much higher retention than others. Some of your CSRs or account managers may have some of your niches, some of your different types of departments or types of business.
And your culture. I want to add this caveat because this was important, especially as we came to see you the first time in Walnut Cove, population 2,200 and change. It's very different. And you were very strong at the beginning that you were going to write any policy and help. You came from a position of, I am in this community with these people and I'm not going to leave them aside. Now, we've had to refine that, just the nature of business, but we worked very, very hard on ideal client profiles. That was certainly a big project we had.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just being able to give my people the empowerment to say, yeah, you don't have to write that policy. It's what we now call off the board negative. Mm-hmm. Now we say something a little more like, the best thing we can do for customers is be in business. And some customers or some policies can put you out of business. And it's hard. It's really hard for people to hear. And half the people listening to me will say I'm full of crap for that statement. But some things you're just losing money on and it'll kill you. Back to Don and I's conversation about the tools, we've uncovered and unearthed some situations by really digging into the numbers. Hey, this person just retains really poorly. What's going on? Or is it this policy count? Or is it this location or whatever? We've been able to dig apart some things and really improve the business because we did study the numbers. And they don't always explain everything, but man, they've been helpful.
Yeah, there is a plot, an overall plot, but there's all these subplots that are going on. And most often they're invisible. Unless you dig deeper, there are really important things that are going on at your agency underneath the surface. and they're essential to understanding what they are. Because if we look at retention as just one number, it's not one number. It's different for every segment of your agency, and that's the level that we try to get to.
So there are 2 pro tips in that. One, be open to what the numbers are telling you on the surface, and that's something on both sides to really, okay, this really is the retention rate. You really will be, yes, you're serving these people, but are you really serving them if they're coming back every week with a cash payment because they've canceled, or it's a nightmare. And 2, the other pro tip in all of this, the expertise, is to understand what's below the surface of that flat line number. And it really was a small portion that was dragging down the overall retention.
Essential understanding, though. That was essential to understanding,
absolutely.
How do we improve? Well, it's one segment at a time, because the segments are all performing.
I don't mind sharing this. We looked at different things, right? We looked at producer. All right, we got a producer with a retention issue. Why is that? Are you willing to live with it? Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. In our case, we were. The retention issue was niche focused, and I'm willing to be okay with it. You got a CSR with a retention issue. Why? Are they doing something different than the rest of the industry? Train around it, whatever. But Don took the time to segment our retention by policy count. And it was a tremendous difference in how long folks stayed by policy count. Hopefully all of us know, but 3 policies are going to stay forever, essentially. That's an overstatement. But along with those guys and gals, I was bragging about their retention improvements. The thing that has really changed is their policy count per customer. From 1.4 to 1.9 in some cases, and we're talking about over a 12-month time frame. So they're making significant moves. You dug that out of there, and they're implementing what we suggested, but you dug those details out and showed it, and they could, in a way that they could understand, oh gosh, this is all I got to do to fix my retention.
Mm-hmm.
Change happens at the micro level. It's the individual person level. So many times we say, well, we don't like where our policy per client is, so we're just going to push on it altogether. Everybody's treated the same. It's not that way. It's different for every producer, every account manager. And you have to understand that at that level, and change happens one person at a time. It doesn't change by the whole agency. The whole agency changes when each individual person changes.
Mm-hmm. Which leads me to the next point of excellence is in the producer planning. We've talked the retention.
Mm.
Producer planning is something we have done every year with Alliance since we started in one form or another. And the idea of, your producers, you have a healthy producer team.
Yeah, they're
You've
good.
got some rock stars and you've got some up and coming. You're very progressive in that, but they have their plans now. And that's something that we've implemented through the years. I'll let you speak to it.
Yeah, I want to emphasize they do a budget. I also want to emphasize I don't set the number. It's their budget. We base our total budget off of what the producers tell us they're going to sell. We got a lot of achievers in the room. If they tell you they're going to sell $100,000 in new business revenue, they meet their goal. The tool, I understand it really well, so I can sit down with a team member and go through and say, okay, tell me what you want to make. Let's look at your average retention today. Let's look at your average revenue per account. Let's look at your average revenue per policy. We can develop this out. It's a simple math equation. It can be a little bit daunting if you've never done it before. But once you sit down and say, just tell me what you want to achieve or tell me what you think you can achieve, we work through those math equations and they know how to get there. I'm sitting at a wooden desk, so I'm going to knock on wood, but we should exceed $1 million in new business revenue generated this year in 2025. And I'm doing backflips over that. The guys have done a great job. They've won every quarter. They've exceeded $250,000 every quarter of the year. And I know for some agencies that's not a lot, and for some agencies that's incredible. I started as a scratch agent, so I understand the journey and the path. But but that was their goal. And the producer planning was a big part of that. You don't just stick a number out there and say, we're going to hit it. Like, how are you going to hit it? What's the plan to get there? What's the activity you got to make? What changes do you have to make to get there?
The reality is when we talk about, I think you said equations or formulas, they're universal. The new business generation, the mathematically is a universal. All of those formulas apply, to everybody. 5 sales at X amount of per sale equals a certain total. It's easy math, and yet they apply differently. It's the human element again that every producer, is a unique individual. The mathematics always stays the same, but applying that to each individual producer, because everybody has different personality, different skill sets.
Which is why we track it all year. It's not a month to month number. It's a rolling cumulative number, because life has ebbs and flows. Everyone's does. Everyone is human. And that leads to my next one. On the flip side of success and building it up, some of the hard conversations we've had is when to let someone go.
Yeah, I don't like to fail. A friend of mine accused me of herding cats one time. I don't like to see anybody fail. I don't want anybody to fail, and I darn sure don't want to fail, right? But sometimes you're the wrong place. Sometimes I'm just my organization has been the wrong place for people. I love them dearly, wish them the best, but that doesn't mean we are the right place for them. And certainly that's taken some maturity from me and other leaders in the organization to kind of get that and help folks understand, hey, we need to help you find a different home. And that hadn't always worked out right. I've ticked people off enough that they say, I'm not at home and I'm leaving. And that happens. That's part of business. Sometimes you fail. I have certainly failed personally, professionally, but you get up, the sun comes up the next day, and you keep fighting and do the best you can do.
Absolutely. And it seems to me that friend may have told you like stray cats and you open the front door and you never open the back door.
I don't have a back door or something like that. Yeah, I think that's the accurate analogy. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that conversation. But that's the human part of wanting to help others, to seeing the best in people, seeing whether it's ideal clients, seeing like, I'm going to give this person a shot. I'm going to write their policy, and hopefully they prove the world wrong and they stay with me.
There's a profound lesson in this. And we talked about, wanting to write all, every client, every prospect's a great client, or give everybody a chance. And there's a generosity paradox here. Sometimes the most generous thing that you can do for somebody on your team is to help them exit.
Yeah, the
great exit is the most generous thing that you can do. And often it's hard to understand, but it is a paradox that sometimes not, helping that prospect find a better fit, somebody who could serve them better, or your team member who you really want to be successful, but they can't, it's just not the right fit. Helping them make a great exit is the most generous thing that you can do.
Mm-hmm. And it's also generous for your current team members. And this is for every listener out there, because we have all done it. We've all tried to, oh gosh, Christopher, this was another one. I remember this conversation. Are you serving them or are you saving them?
Yeah, right.
And you've turned that on us as well. Are you serving? That goes both ways. So often we think, all right, I'm going to serve this person. I'm going to serve this employee. I'm a good servant leader. I'm devoted to God. I'm going to give this person every benefit of the doubt, every chance. I want what's best for them. You're actually not serving them. You're just trying to save them.
A lot of times, a whole lot of times.
And that is
hard reality to face.
And that is business. There's a lot of tough realities and a lot of tough lessons.
Yeah.
And a lot of things, unlike numbers, which we love, are not black and white. And that's the environment that we all deal with.
And true to one of our typical strategic calls, when I'm just pushing you and pushing your buttons, making you both be human. And folks listening out there, believe me, they have both been fed up with me. And like, they've literally said, all right, enough human, give me the numbers. Let's end with some numbers. Let's do a little bit more on the numbers. We've talked retention. We've talked producer planning. Why don't we talk, we get into things like the profit sharing contingency or valuations. Or
Ultimately,
anything.
it's about value creation. There are 11 value drivers, and AgencyCFO, we want to work with agencies to create value.
On all 11 points.
And that's return on investment. Why should you have a fractional CFO? Well, there's got to be we're CFOs. We always are working on return on investment, and there's universal value drivers within your agency, within every business. And again, to keep working, I think, before we joined here this session, we talked about sometimes things are never done. You're never going to stop working with your producers. There's no certain things you're fighting the retention battle. Those things are ongoing.
That's all
training people. The things change. Everybody has to be trained all the time, right? The tech changes, the carrier appetite changes, the society changes, the human on the other end changes. The training never ends, for sure. Specifically into the numbers and the value creation. My ego likes to tell me I'm a pretty smart guy. And I like to say I can add and subtract. And I think those things are true. When I look at the numbers that we've worked on over the last 7 years, I have clearly always been a growth guy. And we shoot for 18% a year every year. And we get real surprised sometimes when it works out to exactly 18%. But that's what we've been focused on. Growth has slowed down in 2025. We expected that to some degree, which might be hard for a lot of folks to understand with the hard market and things like that. But growth slowed down a little bit. Some of that planned, some of that understood going into the year. While the growth has slowed down, the profitability has not. So while I thought I knew how to add and subtract really well, and I was a pretty smart guy, the value creation that you've delivered while this ship maybe slows its growth just a little bit has been incredible. Having more money at the end of the day while you're not growing by as much as you were is an impressive feat. And I think I don't know how it would be possible for Christopher to accomplish that. I know together with y'all, we accomplish a lot, and you guys deserve a lot of credit in that, and I appreciate it.
We thank you for the great partnership.
For your trust, for your friendship, for your love. This is something truly, truly from the heart. I never expected to get the biggest little brother I'd ever find in AgencyCFO, but
I'm ready to sit up straight in my chair when you say stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm tall. Christopher's taller. But it is something, it's that kinship. And, this is one that faith is very deep for Christopher. It's very deep for Don and Ro. And from that first phone call, God put us together for some reason. And I hope anyone who's listening takes some of our pro tips, understands that this is a very honest conversation. It's very raw because it is very real for us. And we are so, so grateful to you and for you.
I will leave it at, we talk about having an emotional connection with all of our agencies. We celebrate when the numbers are great, we celebrate. When
we worry and stay up at night when they're not.
Yeah, and we're emotionally invested, and it is reality. And if you're hearing that come through with all of us today, it's because that's the reality. Christopher, anything else that you'd like to, as we end here?
I don't think I have any amazing closing remarks. I would just say that if you've got a relationship with Ro and Don today, continue working to make that stronger. It will improve your business and improve your life. And if you're wondering about a relationship with AgencyCFO, continue to look under the rocks and ask questions and reach out to people that work with them. I think that it'll be beneficial.
Oh, bless you. You are such a doll. Again, I can't wait. We're 7 years in, God willing, be 7 and 7 and 7 more. This is an incredible ride. We are very grateful. Folks, please understand Christopher is truly the most generous when it comes to openness, time. You call him if you have a question about your agency and you don't need us. He is an amazing resource and talent and someone in this industry who really, really has built something amazing from scratch. Nothing was handed to this man. So on that, thank you.
Love you,
Everyone, please continue to grow and serve each other.
All right. As I like to say, be financially well.